Welcome to Science, first and second hour. Today is Monday, April 6th. Today's lesson is on non-vascular plants, 7.5. Before I start, I would like to remind us that we should be journaling on our plants. This is my journal. Kind of shows how when I planted, the date planted, what I did to plant. Towards the bottom, all I've done is water, so I continue to document that I water. As time goes on, at the bottom I did put an example. For example, April 12th, today my seed came up. It is very small and just barely out of the soil. Just a reminder on that. So today is non-vascular plants. I will be talking about the differences and what a bryophyte is. I will be talking about the questions. Question number 1 of the review is, what is a bryophyte? Number 2 was, what are examples of non-vascular plants? And number 3 is, why do vascular plants tend to be very short? A bryophyte is another name for a non-vascular plant. Non-vascular plants are your hornwort, which has horn-like spirophytes, moss, which is tiny bryophytes that grow like a carpet and have leaf-like structures. Sporangium is a capsule used by mosses to release spores. Liverwort is a bryophyte with leaf or ribbon-like bodies. And going back just a little bit, non-vascular plant is a plant without vascular tissue, seeds, or flower. So a vascular plant is specialized tissue used by plants to transport water, food, and nutrients. So I would also like to show you a little video on how we classify plants. And I may not be able to show it to you, but I will.
There are two rough ways of classifying plants, either by dividing them by vascular and non-vascular tissue, or by seed-bearing and spore-bearing plants. Neither is really better than the other. It's more of a preference of which differences you would like to draw attention to. And you can see in this flowchart, it's a division between non-vascular and vascular plants. And vascular tissue is the tissue within plants that transports water and nutrients up the roots and stems. So this chart is a little simplified because it only includes the plants that we'll be examining more closely, and you can see that bryophytes are the only non-vascular tissue that we'll be learning about, whereas ferns, flowering plants, and conifers are vascular plants. So that means bryophytes do not have vascular tissue, ferns, flowering plants, conifers do have vascular tissue. This division gives insight into the evolution of water independence, whereas non-vascular plants must live in or near water to help them survive or reproduce. Vascular plants have more flexibility because they have the tissue that allows them to draw water from their roots and therefore grow in more dry environments. If we look at the division between spore-bearing and seed-bearing plants, this gives a more reproductive evolutionary perspective. Only conifers and flowering plants bear seeds, whereas the rest of the plants produce spores. And just as vascular tissue allowed plants to move to land, seeds gave plant offspring a better chance for survival, and these evolutionary adaptations will be discussed in more depth and hopefully fall into a clearer overarching picture.
Okay, so that was a brief video on how we classify plants. I did want to read you a story about I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. It was about life and how plants came to be and why they do matter.